Starting out as a virtual assistant can be super exciting. You're your own boss, you have your own business, you can see who you want to see, you can do what you want to do, you can work the hours you want to work. There are so many amazing things about being a virtual assistant. However, it can also be really confusing, really scary, and really overwhelming. So in this video, I want to break down the 7 common mistakes that new virtual assistants make. Hello, my name's Kim. I was a new virtual assistant and I made these 7 mistakes also. And I want to do this so that you can hopefully skip over these mistakes, not make them, and have a really successful virtual assistant business in whatever industry you want to work in. So in this video, I'm going to talk you through the mistakes and also what you should do instead, because there's not really much point in knowing what not to do if you don't know what to do. So we're going to go over all of that in this video. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Kim, and I help virtual assistants go from admin support to a strategic partner working for their clients. So mistake number 1 is trying to serve everyone. So when you first start out as a virtual assistant, you might not know who you want to work with. Maybe you have fallen into this career because a friend or family member has asked you to help them with some admin. That's exactly what happened to me. I was a stay-at-home mom, and one of my friends who is a psychotherapist in private practice asked me to do some invoicing and bookkeeping for her, and just said, like, can you just help me out with some admin? And that's how I kind of fell into this whole virtual assistant business. I didn't even know what a virtual assistant was at that point. And so when I started working for her and I was like, okay, I could actually do this for other people. And then I got referred to another therapist and another therapist, and then somebody came to me in a completely different industry. And what I found is that I had honed my skills. I understood how to run a private practice from the back end. And actually, when I then tried to do that with the other client, it didn't quite work. Now, this client was actually also a psychologist, but the clients that she worked with and the industry she worked in wasn't private practice. So even though on the outside it looks like, okay, this should be my ideal client, actually the work that she needed doing was so different, and I didn't have any expertise in that. And it left me feeling really stressed out. It would give me sleepless nights, and I would really worry about working with this client. So the point of this is, you really want to try and find a niche that you enjoy working with and also that you are good at. So you need to think about what skills you have and how you can make those skills work for a particular industry, and then hone your skills. You really want to become an expert in working with a particular type of client so that you are known in the industry, so that they can refer you to friends and colleagues and things like that. And so you don't have to constantly start learning from scratch. You want to walk in, know what you're doing, get that client really excited to work with you, and you feel really good about it. Mistake number 2 is offering really generic, basic admin support. So anyone can really do admin. Anyone can look in inboxes, answer emails, maybe even book appointments, etc. So what happens is, when you are just offering really generic services, the clients will look at things like your price, and also if you have worked with other people in the industry before, to know whether you would be a better fit for them over somebody else. Whereas if you specialize, if you have a strategic offer for your clients, they are going to be much more likely to want to work with you, and you will have much more to offer them. Just going in and taking over whatever they're doing isn't enough. You want to be able to offer them a solution to cut their admin down, to automate, to streamline, giving them some value that's not just you doing admin for them. So you want to make sure that you add value to the client's business, not just doing some admin for them. The next mistake that I find that VAs make, and again, I did this too, is charging hourly versus having retainers or project rates. When you charge hourly, you will get faster and better at doing the work, and you will end up losing out. So as you take over a new client, maybe it takes you 10 hours a week to do their admin, and as you get better at it, it's going to take you 8 hours a week. And actually then you are going to end up losing money when you are bringing so much more to that client over time. So by charging a retainer, by charging project rates, it's going to benefit both of you. As a virtual assistant, you are going to work with different clients, and you really want to know how many clients you need to earn a certain amount of money. So by charging a retainer, you know you are going to earn X amount of money each month. But on the flip side of that, for your clients, when they ask you like, well, why should I pay a retainer rather than just paying you for your work? It's about them having your loyalty, and also so that they know when you will be working for them. Because if you have to juggle more and more and more clients, it's much harder for you to give the same attention and time to all of the clients. If you know, okay, I'm getting paid X amount from this client and X amount from this client, you will make sure that you have time dedicated in your week to service all of those clients. And you won't have like 20 clients on your brain all of the time where you're trying to fit them all in each day, each week, and things like that. Mistake number 4 is saying yes to every task. So again, when you start working for a client, you might have a specific set of jobs you're doing. And then the client might say, oh, can you also do some social media? Can you also do website maintenance? Can you also do my SEO? And if that is not your expertise, I would not say that you could do that. You can help them find somebody that can do that type of work. But what you really want to make sure is that you are doing your best work. You are doing all of the stuff that you know how to do really, really well. And then you are not going to blur that with work that you're not qualified in, work that you're not very good in. And that's going to muddy the waters in your relationship with the client. There are specific social media experts. There are specific website experts. There are specific SEO experts. And they should really be doing those tasks if that's not your expertise. Of course, you can help the client out if they just want a post created in Canva, or they just want a blog that they've written uploaded to their already existing website and things like that. There are obviously tasks that virtual assistants can do within this field, but coming up with content strategies, coming up with a whole website outline with copy and creatives, and coming up with like an SEO plan and things like that, if that is not where your expertise lie, don't say yes to do it. It is only going to cause you stress, and it's going to muddy the waters in your client relationship. Mistake number 5 is working with misaligned clients. Now, this can also go into mistake number 1. And I do think that when you start out as a virtual assistant, maybe you don't know what clients you want to work with. Maybe you don't know where your expertise is. When I was working in a job, I worked for a logistics company. I worked for a logistics company since I was 19, all the way up to however old I was when I had my son, like 30-ish. So I'd worked in that industry a really long time. So I could have definitely just walked into doing admin for logistics companies, maybe smaller like transport companies and things like that. That definitely is something I could have done. However, it wasn't something that interests me whatsoever. I also don't particularly like working for men and male business owners. I have found that over time, and you will find the types of clients that you don't particularly like working with as well. So this mistake might be a suck it and see type mistake that everybody needs to go through. But what I have found is if you sit down and write down a list of all of your values and priorities and when you want to work and things like that, and then think about industries that replicate your values and when you want to work, you will probably be able to find a list of industries and the type of clients from that industry that you can work with. I also think that you can get a really good sense for a particular client on a discovery call and during the onboarding phase of your working relationship, and I wouldn't skip over those feelings. So if you don't get a good feeling about someone on the discovery call, if you don't get a good feeling when you are onboarding them, don't ignore that. It might be that you are working with the wrong type of client because of the industry they're in, but it might just be that you're working with the wrong type of client. Even if it's in the industry that you are an expert in, there are always going to be types of people that don't gel with you for whatever reason, and that's okay. Not everyone is for everyone, and I think just being completely honest and upfront about that and being helpful. So I have definitely had clients that didn't align with me, and I knew that our personalities weren't going to gel, and I have been able to find them somebody else that I did think would be suited to them. That's also the great thing about having an agency, because if I don't gel with somebody particularly well, then there might be someone on my team, because not everyone is the same, even though they've been trained by me and all that kind of stuff, that would work well with that person. The niche I work in is therapist in private practice. So it's very specific. It's not just any therapist, it's a therapist who's working in private practice. We now also work with therapists who have group practices. That's a specialism that my business now works with, and I absolutely love working with therapists in private practice. They are the loveliest people. Obviously, I just don't think you can be a therapist if you're not a nice person, and they really care about their business, about their clients, and about all of the work that goes into running a private practice. They are really loyal clients as well. Once you start working with a therapist, you're really not ever going to lose that client unless you really did something humongously wrong. And you can build a really good rapport and relationship with a therapist as well. Mistake number 6 is not fully understanding the industry you support. When you have picked your ideal client and you've picked your niche and things like that, it is really important to understand that industry. So whether that's going to conferences or events specifically for that client, it's going to be amazing networking opportunities as well if you go to those events. It's about doing research around the industry. It's about understanding the legalities and things like that around the industry. It's really important that you hone your skills and understand the industry that you are working in so well, so that you are seen as the expert that you are and not just admin support. You do not want to go into a relationship working with a client just as a bit of admin support. That is the worst place to be. You want to go in as a strategic partner, which is someone who can give so much value, and you become virtually irreplaceable. Like, just to plug my business name, but you do become virtually irreplaceable to that client. That is what you want. And the final mistake is thinking that you need more clients when you really just need better clients. I think when you first start out, the goal is to get more and more and more clients, but actually that can become really hard work. You really don't want to have a ton of clients that are on your mind all the time, and trust me, those clients will be on your mind all the time. When you run your own business, you don't just like leave the computer and forget about everything. It just doesn't work like that. And the more clients you have, the more stressful it is, because those clients, for example, if you're working with therapists in private practice, those clients will have 15 of their own clients, and you will know all of these clients by name. You will learn all of these 15 clients, and if you have 10 therapist clients and they all have 15 clients, you now know 150 people, and whether their dad is paying their invoice, whether this person has not paid their invoice for 2 weeks, whether this person needs to reschedule their appointment and they are not answering an email and it is stressing you out because you know that their appointment is tomorrow, the therapist has cancelled them and they haven't replied to let them know that it isn't going ahead. So all of these people will be on your brain all the time. So the more clients you have, the more stressful that is going to be. So what you want is, you want better clients. You want clients that you can do your best work with. You want clients that are going to give you retainer hours, so you know, okay, I'm getting 10 hours a week from this client. I only need to work 40 hours a week, 30 hours a week, whatever it is. So I know I only need X amount of clients. That is going to help you out. It's going to make you feel much more relaxed, much less stressed about managing all of these clients, especially if they're all in different industries. One's a plumber, one's a therapist, one's a hairdresser, one's whatever you're working with. So it's really important that you pick a niche, pick a type of client you want to work with and do your best work with, understand the industry inside out, give them an amazing offer that they won't be able to get elsewhere, or they will find it really hard to get elsewhere, and go in as a strategic partner, not just a bit of admin support. You will be valued, appreciated, and respected so much more by doing all of this. So if you would like to go from being a generalist, a general virtual assistant, into a strategic partner, I actually have a free webinar which I would love you to watch. It's actually under half an hour, and it's called How to Go from an Overlooked VA to an in-demand specialist earning consistent income. So if that is something that would be interesting to you, I would love you to go and check that out. I'd love to know, if you are a virtual assistant, what other mistakes you would warn newer virtual assistants about. And if you are a new virtual assistant, I would love to know what industry you are working in and what your hopes are for your business. But until next time, thanks so much for watching.